You're busy, you've got a decent practice, but nobody wants to be decent. You want to be great, and you want to have a great practice. So how did the most productive, profitable dentist in the nation balance real life, work, and profits, and somehow make it all seem fun? Well, it comes down to simple, everyday practices. So grab a lunch, join us as we chat with top clinicians and influencers to discover their formula for uncommon success. Are you ready? Then it's time to explore everyday practices with Vicki McManus-Peterson and Dr. Chad Johnson.
Welcome, everyone, to Everyday Practices. This is Chad Johnson, and I'm here with Vicki McManus-Peterson. And hi, Vicki. And why don't you introduce Brian today for our guest?
I love it. You and I are in a giddy mood today, and
I know.
So, hey, if you're feeling down and out and you needed a chuckle, we don't even know why we're laughing.
And if you're on a spin bike, speed those legs up to 85 RPM. I don't want to see any of this slacking.
And if you don't even know what a spin bike is, you're my people.
It's spring. People are going to start getting back on their bikes, and they're out riding and stuff like that. So,
you know what? You're right. That's a great segue, too, because it is spring, and it's time for spring cleaning. And we are so excited to have Brian Heyndrickx with us today. Two questions I want to answer. A, are you any distant relative to Jimi Hendrix?
Yeah, we
already
talked about that before recording. That's funny.
And two, spring cleaning, it's a great time to look at, I like to spring clean our profit and loss as well as our practices. So it's a good time for everybody. Go through your supply closet, consolidate those 15 brands that you have, get rid of the 3 impression materials you no longer use, find those $100 burrs that got lost in the corner. It's a really good time to do spring cleaning in your supply closet. And that is why we have Brian Heyndrickx with us. He is the co-founder of a company called Independent, and it is a group purchasing organization. And we feel so excited in PDA to be aligned with Independent and gain group purchasing status for all of our PDA member docs. And Brian, we're really excited to have you here to walk us through the process. Like, how did your company come to be? Who do you serve? And most importantly, how do our listeners, our everyday practices in PDA, how do we engage and take advantage of the buying power that you can offer us? So did that give you...
Yes, thank you. And I appreciate. So I answer your first question, the Jimi Hendrix reference. I get that all the time, and unfortunately, I'm not related. But I like to tell myself that I have some of the moves that he had. So I'm a pretty wicked dancer at the wedding. So that's probably the best I can do to relate. But I do get that question all the time.
Well,
but again, I appreciate
it better.
Yes. So I appreciate you taking the time to get to know a little bit more about Independent Dental Solutions. We're also very excited to be working with you and your organization to help kind of spread the mission and movement about Independent Dental Solutions, which we're all really about helping save independent private practices and have independent private practices not only survive but thrive. And you said earlier, hey, it's a good time to look at your P&L, look at your supply chain costs, look at how you procure products, who you buying from, are they on contract, are they not on contract, are you taking advantage of any one of the great services that Independent Dental Solutions has. So hopefully today the listeners in the group will walk away with some snippets of information to help them as they kind of continue to manage their practice and chat with other dental professionals. So Independent Dental Solutions was created in 2017. I come from the medical background. I've come from the medical field, and I spent about 20 plus years in the medical space. I was basically kind of like the Henry Schein of the medical side. And what I did is I worked for one of the largest distributors in the country. And I started to see all the great things that the medical side were doing. And then I started to become friends with Dr. Michael Romanesco. And we started talking about just supply chain. And I asked him, well, who do you have your contract with? And he said, well, what do you mean contract? I said, I just buy supplies. So Michael and I got to know each other through our kids. We actually coach our kids' soccer teams together. We did some family vacations together, never talked about work. And just one day we started to chat about this topic. And Michael comes from a family of 7 dentists. His father's a dentist, his wife's a dentist, his cousin, his uncle, his 2 brothers are dentists. And I said, Michael, I said, in the healthcare space, group purchasing organizations pull out about $50 billion a year in savings on the healthcare side. And I said and I told them about 98% of hospitals and healthcare organizations buy off a GPO contract. And I said, the reason this model has not made it over to the dental side is because it's pretty much been owned by big dental for decades. So we basically said, hey, let's come together and let's see if we can pull the buying power together for your 7 offices, and let's pull some data and let's do some comparison. Well, all of these offices, even though they're all under one family, they're all separately owned. Some of them were ordering products from different organizations. And what we actually did is did a comparison, of cost, and not one of the practices were paying the same for product. And a lot of them were buying from the same distributor or manufacturer. So we actually decided to put together an RFP, which stands for Request for Proposal, and we met with all the top manufacturers and distributors. And we basically wanted to get their insight and let them know we wanted to band independent dentists together to basically give them the same buying power, leverage, and advantages that the dental service organizations or DSOs or corporate dental receive. And the other thing we wanted to do is help educate the dentists as to how they can truly band together, drive down price as the group grows. So we kind of took on this adventure of educating the market and then trying to flip the market and kind of move away from big dental and bring in some different players and some different thought processes. And that's how Independent Dental Solutions was created and born. And then we started, we actually went live to market in July of 2018, and it's been a great adventure since we started. So that's really how we came about.
Oh, that's
very cool. So by the time this gets released, coming up this summer on your 1-year anniversary.
That's right. It's an exciting time for us. And if you look back at coming on this first year, we had some very realistic goals in regards to how many dental offices we wanted to get, but we were really surprised at how the mission and the movement of helping save independent private practices really took off. And when you talk to our members, they're more concerned about that than they are about the savings. So the savings is important as we grow, and it has a financial impact. But when we start having conversations with members and study clubs and state dental societies, the one thing that people always come back to is they're saying, it's about time somebody organized independent dentists and helped us put us on a level playing field as DSO
right.
In corporate. Yes, the savings is great, but that was, again, I don't want to say we were necessarily surprised, but it was just we thought that, the savings was going to be a big part of it, but it's like, okay, we get the savings, but we're really about what else can we do to help independent private practice? And that's, we're truly a purpose-driven organization, and that's what really kind of gets us up in the morning and represent our members on a daily basis. But to your point, Jed, as we're coming up to the year, we're over about 600 locations. We're in March, and we're growing on a regular basis. We actually have a relationship and endorsement with the Illinois State Dental Society. It's actually the first group purchasing organization that has been endorsed by a major state dental society. So we're excited about that, and we're working with a few others. So a lot of folks are getting behind this mission and moving on how do we work together to help save independent private practice.
Well, Brian, I have kind of a little cult following here in Iowa just because that's where I am, and that's where my buddies are. So,
such a legend in your own mind.
I probably have like 5 whole listeners in the state, which is half of the dentists here. But
yeah, you got them all then. Good.
So, no, but seriously, I just thought I'd point out to anyone that is listening that Brian was telling me earlier before we hit record that he's going to be hitting the IDA May meeting. So if you do see him there and put the 2 and 2 together, a good timely little plug there.
Oh,
yeah. Thank you. Yeah, we're excited about going down, and that's what we want to do is really represent and get out and get to know as many state dental societies as we can. So I know that the Iowa group, they have a great show coming up event in May, and we're excited to be there and help educate that market.
Yeah.
I love that, Brian. And Reagan and I have been working with you for months, getting to know your company. That's part of my role in PDA, is to kind of really vet out who our alliance partners are and the resources that we recommend to our doctors. And what struck me the most in your mission for supporting independent dentists, I think this is more than a marketing ploy. It is truly who you are. And we're of that same cloth. And I think what it is where we join is when the sense of independence, the sense of controlling your destiny. For me, it's all about the way we work with clients is to help just spark human potential and to create businesses that help to activate deep levels of joy and satisfaction and tangible success. And sometimes, I'm not saying that doesn't exist in large corporates, but sometimes it's not as, dentists don't feel like they're as in charge of their autonomy in those larger environments. So I love that. What independent dentist means to me is that you're really there to help spark human potential. And when you can get a handle on the financial aspects of it and you've got cost savings, it makes everything a little bit easier. You can breathe at night.
Yeah, and I think to your point, when you and I and Reagan, we all met months ago, it was like fireworks, right? Because we all kind of have the same passion, the same energy, the same sense of humor. We want to have fun in what we're doing, but we're really purposeful driven. And then to your point, how do you vet out the companies that you want to align yourself and associate yourself with? Because you want to get with like-minded people that not only say the right things, but do the right things in their actions. Because, it's way easier for these organizations, like these companies and, businesses and distributors and manufacturers, just say, I'm just going to go to the DSOs and corporate because I'm going to go work with one person and they control, 1,000 offices. Right. It's much harder to go to the independent. So as an independent, you don't always get, what the others get. And I will say, when we went through this whole process, the company that we selected and partnered was with Midway Dental, and they are a phenomenal organization that is independently owned. They're very big into help protect independent private practices. We actually talk to them on a daily basis. We work with them, with the manufacturers, to drive down costs as the group gets bigger. Actually, a couple of weeks ago, we made an announcement that, there was about a dozen products that were going down an additional 19% just because the group is getting bigger. And we're actually working on, as we speak, with Midway Dental and their team and the IDS team on about 15 to 20 other contracts for products because the group is getting better. And a lot of these large organizations on the manufacturing side are recognizing the strength of the independent dentists. And we say, we're representing them. We want to leverage their insights, their thoughts, their ideas, and have the independent dentists have the loudest voice. So a lot of these manufacturers are now saying, okay, I get it. I understand. I want to partner with the independent dentist, and let's see if we can put together a contract for the group. But back to your earlier point, it's all about aligning yourself with the right people that help our members and the dentists, the independent dentists, kind of become the best versions of themselves as a dentist and a business person. So how do we continue to bring solutions to that?
Yeah, and I thank you for partnering with us, because it feels like we're growing our ecosystem here. And Chad,
absolutely.
Chad, we are educational partners with Midway Dental, which is not to be confused with the DSO in Midwest, but Midway Dental. You're doing some speaking for them right now, right? What is that like?
I was just gonna say, based on that, we're basically working with Midway to go out and speak to all the study components, actually this week within Illinois, to talk about all the great things we're doing with Midway Dental and speaking on our behalf with the partnership that we have. So Chad, obviously you're speaking on behalf of them as well.
Yeah, we had a time it's been a couple Novembers ago that we were speaking in Chicago, and that was kind of a meet and greet with Productive Dentist Academy, with Midway Dental, and then Chris and I also went up to Michigan this last winter and spoke. And then there's a few more speaking opportunities that Productive Dentist Academy is going to have that Midway has opened up for us this summer to go to, if I have this right, something like Indianapolis, Grand Rapids, Detroit, Chicago, maybe something in Wisconsin as well. I don't know if it's Milwaukee or what. But yeah, there's some speaking opportunities that are coming up, and the main goal is to talk about the business aspect of dentistry and practice management.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it'll be great.
So listeners, we'll keep you informed of those dates. I mean, you don't want to miss Chad in person.
Ta-da!
There you go.
Cue the music. He's coming.
Yes. Cue the Heyndrickx music. Hey, so Brian, let me ask. I'll keep it soft hitting, and if it's whatever out of touch with what you're wanting to do, then later we can just cut this out. But let me ask this much. So for dentists that are hearing the big picture, now let's talk about the littler picture. I recently, and Vicki, you remember this was a couple of years ago, was talking with a group that was a savings program, and their whole thing was, within your 10% of supplies and lab costs and whatnot, whether it's 10 or 15%, we can save you 20%. To me, though, that would be 3%. And then they said, well, and that being the case, we want a cut of X percent. And it was, somewhere in that 2 to 3% negotiably, or 4% and stuff like that. But to me, in that regard, then it was all a wash. How is yours maybe similar or different? How does your structure work? That way dentists that are hearing the bigger picture are going to go, okay, Chad, I hope you ask Brian, cut to the chase. So how does this affect me instead of the bigger picture? What do people do? Do they sign up for a 10-year contract with you, or is it just, grouping it together? How does that all work?
No, those are really good questions, and those are the questions we get when we're out talking to study clubs and
yeah, I bet.
And groups.
Sure.
So first off, the model is free. So when we designed this, again, you had two dentists, myself, and then Jordan Herbert, who's part of one of the co-founders. And when we sat down to design this, there's a lot of models out there. It's like, 1% of your practice production, or percent of savings,
right.
Or, there's an annual or monthly fee. And then there's, some promises that are made. We decided we wanted to make this free. And basically, when we look at the data, we'll pull the data of what you're paying today. And then we'll say we're averaging about 23 up to about 30% of savings off what you're paying today. So a lot of organizations will say, I'm going to come in and I'm going to save you 17% or 20%. Well, 17 or 20% off of what? Off of catalog, off of retail. So there's kind of a little bit of that going on. Or you also have somebody who will say, we see this going on too, where we'll go in and someone will join us, an office will join us, and they'll say, well, my incumbent distributor came in and say, well, they're going to match the price. But you got to be careful when you want to match the price, because they're going to margin up the business over time, which basically that means they will go in, they'll match our price, because, there's a threat to lose that relationship or that business, if you will. So they'll say, let us match price. They'll match price, but since you don't have a contract and prices don't go down, because as the group gets bigger, prices go down, they'll margin up that business. And if you look at your invoices over the next couple of months, you watch and see. And it's a common practice used in distribution, in retail. You come in low, and then over time you margin up that business. So we lock in our prices.
Like dish sales. I mean, if you say I'm going to switch from one company to the other, well, I'll tell you what, we'll give you 6 months free. They're not giving you 6 months free, though. They're hoping to keep you on board, but in the long run, they're not looking for philanthropy. They're looking to, make money. And so if they have a loss on the short end, they will make it up in the long end. I mean, so we see that all the time in business, not just in dentistry. You're right.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of our biggest things is we want to lock in our pricing. We want to have a contract. So to your point, you can say, well, why don't you do this? And, there's not a contract, so they can margin up the business, all day long. So we lock in our prices. So in 2018, we had no price increases. 2019, we locked in those prices, and prices are going down on select items that we're creating contracts with to reduce price, from that perspective as the group gets bigger. So back to your earlier question, our model is free. We decided we wanted to do that based on our situation and based on how we wanted to grow this model quickly and be very, very transparent. What happens then is basically like you're saying, okay, what does this mean, financially? So what happens is we get a fee, if you will, you call it an admin fee off of the percent of revenue. So that's how we kind of fund the mission and movement and get paid for what we do to kind of, manage IDS.
Gotcha.
But that doesn't impact the savings. So again, we're around that 23 to 30%, savings on average. And we take a look at what your current spend is. And when we've had some of the state dental societies, and we have a lot of offices, will say, well, we'll send you our pricing, and you do a comparison. There hasn't been an organization that has had better pricing than us. You may have a couple of items that are maybe off here and there, but if you look at the aggregate, it's about 23 to 30%. And like I said earlier, as the membership grows, we're out working with manufacturers on a daily basis to create contracts for a member, so those prices continue to go down, and we lock in our pricing. The other thing we do is we actually report out to all of our members what the margin is that we make from an IDS perspective. That's kind of the model you have in the GPO piece. So it's full transparency, and we share that with everybody. I don't know a lot of organizations that are going to share with their members what their margin is. So that's just part of what we do. The model we have in place. Does that make sense?
Yeah, very cool. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So, next question then, just to make sure to reiterate on that, is when someone does sign up and they help lock in prices, because you don't want someone flighty just signing up for 2 weeks and then leaving, and it's just like, well, we had 200 offices, but 100 of them were only sticking around for a month. So, what is kind of the commitment, I suppose, would be a good question. The commitment that you're expecting to see from people.
Yeah, you did ask that originally, and I kind of went into this other area. So
it's okay. It was too
back
multifaceted at first, sure.
Yeah. So basically, we have what we call a member services agreement,
okay.
And we have that in place because that then allows us to represent our members to the manufacturers that we're working with.
Yes,
and it basically they sign that, they kind of click on the box if you're like, hey, we kind of read this as like a page and a half. It's not a contract. You're not committed to anything. But we do ask our members, because it's all about unifying independent dentists, to come together, and we say, hey, as long as you can buy all your product, and you can get your service, and you can get capital equipment from us, and you're getting a good, price, and you're taking advantage of all the other, services that we're bringing together under the fold of independent dental solutions to help our members, we will want our members, to buy from us. If a member, say, hey, I want to try it out for a month or so, and after that, they're like, this isn't working for me, they can exit. They just let us know. That's not that. It's not. No one is locked in. And again, So there's no like, I got you. There's no, here's kind of smoke and mirrors. We're very transparent about the fees. That, from an IDS perspective of how, we fund the mission and movement. We share all that with our members. We're very transparent with everything. And when it comes on from a MSA perspective, they're not locked into anything. So if they're like, this isn't working, if they want to leave, they can definitely leave.
Very cool.
I love it. So I know that we're going to have a link that goes out with the show notes on how people get started with you, but really walk us through the process. How simple is it?
Sure. So it's basically, if you go to independent-ds.com, you can go on there, and it's very easy. It takes literally about 4 or 5 minutes. You fill out just your contact information, where you're buying from today, fill out some simple information, and then you hit join. It goes to our member services manager, Sue Van Bagel, which is also my mother-in-law, believe it or not. That's going very well. And basically then she'll send out a member kind of welcome packet that kind of walks the office through everything they need to know. And we send them an account number. We give them a representative's name from Midway Dental. And then they can basically go online and get their access code with the website, and all their prices is loaded. And the other great thing about that is when they go on to order and we've negotiated another contract, they never have to lift a finger, because every time we negotiate a contract, we basically work with Midway, hit a button, and all of our members take advantage of that price. They don't have to go in and upload a price or upload a catalog. It's all taken care of for them. So it's very easy to join. You just go to, again, independent-ds.com. They join to get a welcome packet, and you can start ordering within almost 24 hours.
I love that. And if you're hearing this podcast and there's a place to note it, just note for Brian that you heard about it in Everyday Practices or Productive Dentist Academy, just like you record your referral sources so you know how to make your marketing better. That can help them understand, how are people coming to this movement. And I love that you say a movement. And what really has been mind-blowing for me, and I love that you're in Wisconsin. I had 5 or 6 dental practices in Wisconsin. And even with agreements and a web portal and all of that with one of the bigger manufacturers, which I loved working with them, we would end up comparing invoices, and we got different prices in different locations that were 15 minutes apart. So understanding that it's fair across the board, it's equal across the board is huge. It's huge.
Yeah.
I was busy looking at, okay, are we spending 5% or 6% on my supply budget? I was holding the big picture line on it, and I could have saved even more money. But who has the time to sit down and evaluate, how much am I spending on cotton rolls? Like, that is like a useless piece of time, for a dentist or the team to kind of and even if Chad, you're probably paying more than Stephanie Mohan. I know you are.
On cotton rolls, you better believe it. Vicki, though, we joke around about that. Like, it seems like that's the one thing that's the almost the inside joke is, like that some people are always complaining about cotton rolls, but it's the truth. You don't want to spend 10 hours worrying about trying to save 1 penny on cotton rolls. And someone could say, yeah, but those add up. And it's just like, yeah, sure they do. But if you think about the average Productive Dentist Academy client that's doing $600 or $1,200 an hour, and if we spent an hour and lost $1,200 trying to, that's a lot of cotton rolls to have to make up to do a penny of savings. So letting someone do that group is where it's at.
Yeah, and I think a lot of dentists have said to me and our colleagues that the money that I'm saving, I'm going to reinvest that back into my practice, right? So like you said, PDA courses, education. I'm going to bring in some new equipment. A lot of them have said, which I think is very admirable, and I agree with this. They say, I'm going to give some of this money back to my staff from a bonus. So I'm going to give them a raise. So it's amazing to hear what these dentists are doing with the savings. And it's also really incredible to see all these dentists kind of really band together. And when we're out talking to, dental societies and states and study clubs, just to see the camaraderie amongst the group to say, we need to do this. We need to band together. We should be treated, fairly as DSOs and corporate. And the other thing I like to say too, the Midway Dental sales team or business development team, the folks that are, out in the field, they're one of the most important parts of this equation. Because when you look at e-commerce, their model is basically, we're going to get all the savings because we're going to cut out the sales reps. But then you don't have that relationship. You don't have that trusted advisor. You don't have somebody you can call. You're you're calling a 1-800 number. They don't carry all the products. They don't have service. They don't have capital equipment. If they can't ship it in a box, it's not sent. And then they don't have, the contracted locked in pricing for the group, because it's just more of an open model. So when we work with our manufacturers and Midway Dental, we're very laser focused on representing our members. And I got to tell you, the Midway Dental sales team has been phenomenal. And they're saying, hey, how can we introduce this into our markets? We have a lot of independent dentists. How do we help? And Midway Dental gets a lot of credit for building out this model with us, because a lot of a lot of groups said, well, yeah, why would we want to do this? It's just going to lower our margin. We had one group say, hey, we want to help save independent private practice as well, because that's where our highest margin is. And we're saying that's not why we're doing this. It's just crazy, the stuff here. We had one group say, hey, good luck trying to organize the independent dentist. Call us if you get it done. And one of the other ones, which is also just as kind of absurd, is one said, well, we need to have a good mix of independent dentists because they subsidize the price reduction of DSOs, in corporate. So these are things that just validate why we're doing this. But the Midway dental sales team has been phenomenal, and they're helping craft this message. They're bringing this into their markets, and the leadership at Midway has been phenomenal because they invest in this with their time, their energy, their team, their marketing, and they're in this mission and movement with us, just like you guys are, to help bring some solutions to the independent dentist.
I love it. And I'm going to give a shout out to Stephen Kizzy, the CEO, and congratulations on your new baby. I mean, like real people, just like us, doing real things. Let me make this super tangible. If you have a practice that's doing 1.1 million, which is pretty typical for a solo practitioner that's doing well, and you're spending, say, 6% on your dental supplies, which is not that out of line, the average savings is 23%. So that means making one switch into getting into contracted services, you're going to save $15,000 a year. So that is significant in my book. That's pretty huge. So I love this conversation. I wish we had like an hour and a half because we've had a lot of fun. But we keep our podcast pretty tight. But Brian, so glad to meet you and to know that you're helping us develop and expand our ecosystem of support for entrepreneurial dentists, that you're out there as well, sparking that human potential and really being the champion of quality and in our industry. So thank you. And thanks for saving our members $15,000 a year. That's walking around money, Chad.
That's very cool.
Yeah. And I appreciate both your guys' time. And I likewise, I think the relationship that we're developing with you and the team and all the strategies we have in place, how do we help members and help with the education side is great. Because like you said, it's all about creating this big ecosystem of like-minded people, but really good people too. So thank you very much, both of you, for your time.
Brian, you're the first Wisconsinian. Is that a word? Is that what you call them?
Let's coin it. Let's make that today. That is a legit word.
So you're our first Wisconsinian that I can recall that we've interviewed, and we have a question for Wisconsin people, and you are to respond with one or the other. It's just fun, but here's the questionnaire: bacon or eggs?
Bacon.
Bacon. Wisconsin for the win. Go Badgers.
Go Badgers. I love it.
Now that's coming from a Hawkeye. So this is me trying to be, put out a little bit of handshake of.
Yeah. You're so kind.
Well, Brian, thanks so much for joining us and talking to us today. And everyone, thanks for listening to Everyday Practices.
Bring your lunch or take us to the gym again next week to improve your everyday practices. Also, subscribe on iTunes, follow us on social media, and sign up for our email list. Now get out there and win with Everyday Practices.